Commander Alex Howard stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the stars through the main viewport. His hands were clasped behind his back, but his fingers fidgeted with nervous energy. In all his 15 years of space service, he had never faced a situation like this. "They're approaching, sir," said Lieutenant Frank Reed from the sensor station. 87 vessels, just as their message indicated. Alex nodded. "And our status?" "All systems ready. Defense protocols on standby as ordered." The Draconian fleet had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago. Their message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. They claimed humanity was an aberration that needed to be studied and controlled. Now Alex was being sent to meet them before they reached Earth's defense perimeter. "Open a channel when we're in range," Alex ordered. "Let's see if they're willing to talk before they shoot." Lieutenant Olivia Bennett, the ship's xenolinguist, moved to stand beside him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes reflected the starlight from the viewport. "I've been studying their initial communication, sir," she said quietly. "Something seems off about their language patterns." "Off how?" "It's hard to explain. The translation is perfect. Too perfect, actually. It's as if they learned our language from a textbook but don't fully understand the nuances." Alex frowned. "Make note of anything unusual during the meeting. It might give us an edge." The horizon slowed as it approached the meeting point. The Draconian fleet was visible now. Massive ships with sharp angular designs that reminded Alex of ancient Earth predators. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic blue-green sheen that seemed to shift in the starlight. "They're hailing us," Frank announced. "On screen," Alex replied, straightening his uniform. The view screen flickered, and Alex found himself staring at a reptilian face. Admiral Krell, according to the transmission data, had scales the color of burnished copper and vertical, pupils that narrowed as he regarded the humans. Behind him, other Draconians worked at control stations that pulsed with strange light. "Commander Howard," Krell said, his voice unexpectedly smooth. "You represent Earth in this matter?" "I do, Admiral. I'm authorized to discuss your, demands. Though I must say, threatening a planet you've just contacted isn't the best way to start a relationship." Krell's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Relationships are not our concern. Your species has been identified as an anomaly. You will submit to examination and classification." "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Alex replied calmly. "Earth is a sovereign world. We're open to peaceful exchange of knowledge, but not to submission." "You misunderstand," Krell said. "This is not a negotiation. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are inadequate. We could destroy your major cities before your planetary defense systems could target our vessels." Olivia stepped forward slightly, catching Alex's eye and making a subtle gesture. He gave her a small nod. "Admiral," she said, "may I ask why you consider humans an aberration?" Krell's eyes shifted to her. "Your development pattern is irregular. You should not be here." "Could you elaborate?" she pressed. "What makes our development irregular?" The Admiral paused and something flickered across his face. Confusion, perhaps? "Your biological and technological signatures do not match expected parameters. You will be studied. You will be corrected." Alex noticed Olivia's hands tighten at her sides. Something in the exchange had disturbed her. "Admiral," Alex said, "we request time to consult with our leadership regarding your demands." "You have 6 Earth hours," Krell replied. "Then we will begin corrective procedures." The transmission ended abruptly. Alex turned to Olivia. "What did you notice?" "His responses were almost scripted," she said. "When I asked him to elaborate, he seemed confused, like he didn't have prepared answers for follow-up questions." Dr. Alan Russell, the ship's science officer, joined them at the viewport. "The sensor readings from their ships are unlike anything I've seen. Their energy signatures fluctuate in patterns that don't match their apparent technology level." "Meaning?" "Either they're masking their true capabilities or," Russell hesitated, "or something else is powering those ships." A communication alert sounded from the command console. "Sir," Frank called out. "Priority message from Earth Defense Command." Alex moved quickly to the console and entered his authorization code. The message was brief. Return immediately. Diplomatic approach terminated. Set. Course for Earth, Alex ordered. Maximum speed. Sir? Frank looked confused. What about the negotiations? They've been called off at the highest level. Alex's expression was grim. Something's happening that we haven't been told about. As the horizon turned back toward Earth, the Draconian fleet began to move. They formed a perfect crescent formation, advancing steadily toward the blue planet that hung in the distance. They're positioning for an attack run, Frank reported, his voice tense. Push the engines beyond safety protocols if you have to, Alex ordered. We need to get behind our defense perimeter. The horizon shot forward, straining against the limits of its drive system. Behind them, the Draconian fleet accelerated as well, but made no move to fire upon the retreating Earth vessel. Olivia stood beside Alex as they watched the tactical display. Why aren't they shooting at us? We're an easy target. They want us. To see what happens next, Russell suggested from his station. Whatever they're planning, they want witnesses. The horizon passed through Earth's outermost defense line just as the planetary defense grid began to power up. Alex had expected to see the orbital platforms charging their weapons, but instead something strange was happening. Energy readings were spiking from Earth itself. Commander, Russell called out, his voice tight with confusion. I'm detecting massive energy buildup, but it's not coming from our defense platforms. It's coming from inside the planet. Inside? That's impossible, Alex said, moving to the science station. But the readings were clear. Something within Earth was awakening, generating power on a scale that defied conventional understanding. The Draconians have stopped, Frank reported. They're holding position just outside our defense perimeter. On the main view screen, the Draconian fleet hung in space, their formation perfect and motionless. Then, without warning, a pulse of blue-white energy erupted from Earth. It spread outward like a ripple in a pond, passing harmlessly through the horizon and other human vessels. But when it reached the Draconian fleet, something extraordinary happened. The pulse seemed to wrap around each ship, enveloping them in cocoons of light. For a moment, the fleet shimmered like stars seen through water, and then they were simply gone. No explosion, no debris. Just empty space where 87 warships had been moments before. Silence fell over the horizon's bridge. Alex stared at the view screen, trying to process what he had just witnessed. Did we just destroy their entire fleet? Frank finally asked. No, Russell whispered, still looking at his readings. They're not destroyed. There's no debris, no radiation. It's as if they were transported somewhere. But how? Alex turned to his science officer. We don't have that kind of technology. Apparently, Olivia said quietly, we do. Alex's communicator beeped with an encrypted signal. The message was brief but clear. Report to Antarctica base immediately. Classification Guardian Prime. He had never heard of Guardian Prime, but the authorization code belonged to Director Patricia Collins, the head of Earth's most secret defense division. Set course for Antarctica, he told his navigation officer. Something tells me we're about to learn that everything we know about Earth is wrong. The UES Horizon landed at the Antarctica base 6 hours later. Snow swirled around them as Alex, Olivia, and Dr. Russell stepped off the ship. A group of armed guards in white uniforms met them on the landing pad. Commander Howard, said the lead guard. Follow me. Director Collins is waiting. They were led through a series of security checkpoints into an elevator that plunged deep beneath the ice. Alex noticed that none of the guards wore regular Earth Defense Force insignia. Instead, their uniforms bore a simple symbol he had never seen before, a blue circle with a spiral inside it. What is this place? Olivia whispered as they descended. I've heard rumors, Russell replied quietly. A research facility that predates the Defense Force. But I thought it was just a story. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal a vast underground complex. The walls were made of a strange, smooth material that seemed to glow with a faint blue light. It didn't look like any building material Alex had seen before. Director Patricia Collins waited for them in a circular room filled with screens showing the empty space where the Draconian fleet had been. She was a tall woman with silver hair cut short and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they fell upon. "Commander Howard," she said, "thank you for coming so quickly. What you witnessed today was not supposed to happen for another 50 years, at least." "What exactly did we witness, Director?" Alex asked. "Those ships just vanished. They were relocated to a containment dimension," Collins replied matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather. "A pocket of space-time separate from our own. The technology is not of recent development." Olivia stepped forward. "You're saying we've had the ability to transport entire fleets into another dimension? That's centuries beyond our current technology level." "Current," Collins repeated with a slight smile. "That's the key word, Lieutenant Bennett. Please, all of you, sit down. What I'm about to tell you is Earth's most carefully guarded secret." They sat at a round table. Collins pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above them showing Earth but somehow different. The continents were arranged slightly differently, and strange structures dotted the surface. 10,000 years ago, Collins began, humans were not the primitive tribes described in our history books. We were an advanced spacefaring civilization, with technology far beyond what we possess even now. Alex stared at her in disbelief. "That's impossible. There's no archaeological evidence." "Because it was deliberately erased," Collins interrupted. "Our ancestors hid everything. They buried our cities, dismantled our technology, and rewrote our history. They did it to save us." "From what?" Russell asked. "From the harvesters," Collins replied, her voice growing softer. "A species that consumed entire worlds. They didn't just destroy civilizations, they absorbed them, took their knowledge, their technology, and their genetic material. And they were hunting us." The hologram changed to show fearsome ships shaped like massive crystalline structures. Even as a recording, they inspired a strange sense of dread. "Our ancestors made a terrible choice," Collins continued. "They decided to hide in plain sight. They transformed Earth into a fortress disguised as a primitive world. They erased their own technological achievements from history and from the minds of most humans, preserving the knowledge in only a few bloodlines." She looked at each of them in turn. "The defense system you saw activate was built into Earth itself. It has been sleeping, growing stronger as it drew energy from the planet's core, waiting for the day when the harvesters or their scouts found us again." Alex tried to process this information. "And the Draconians? They're connected to these harvesters? They're unwitting scouts." Collins nodded. "We've known about them for decades. They bear signs of harvester influence, subtle genetic and neurological modifications that make them seek out hidden civilizations. They don't even know they're being used." Olivia's eyes widened. "That explains the strange patterns in their communication. They were following implanted directives they didn't fully understand." A door opened and a man in civilian clothes entered the room. He looked ordinary. Average height, brown hair, glasses. Not at all like someone who would have access to Earth's most classified facility. "This is Professor Sam Miller," Collins introduced him. "He's the reason you're all here." Miller nodded, nervously at them. "I was teaching my archaeology class when they brought me in yesterday. I still don't quite believe all this." "Professor Miller is special," Collins explained. "His genetic code contains activation sequences for the ancient systems. He's descended from the original Guardians, those tasked with remembering the truth when the time came." "I started having strange dreams 3 weeks ago," Miller said. "Images of stars and ships and technology I couldn't possibly know about. Then I drew this in my sleep." He held up a piece of paper with the same spiral symbol that was on the guards' uniforms. Collins continued, "We've been monitoring people with Guardian genetic markers for generations. When the professor's dormant memories began to activate, we knew something was coming. We just didn't expect the Draconians to arrive so soon." "So what happened to them?" Alex asked. "Are they dead?" "No," Miller answered, surprising himself with his certainty. "They're in stasis. The containment dimension holds them safely until they can be fixed." "Fixed how?" Russell asked. "Freed from harvester influence," Collins said. "Which brings me to why you're here, Commander Howard." We need a team to enter the containment dimension and study the Draconians, find out what they know about the Harvesters, and if possible, remove whatever control mechanisms are influencing them. You want us to go into another dimension? Alex asked incredulously. The technology is safe, Collins assured him. Professor, Miller's awakening memories are providing us with the operational knowledge we need. And your crew has already encountered the Draconians. You have a xenolinguist who noticed their communication anomalies, and a science officer who detected their unusual energy signatures. Before Alex could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. One of the screens flashed red with a warning message. Director called a technician from across the room. We're detecting multiple activations worldwide. The main screen changed to show a map of Earth. Dozens of points were lighting up across the continents. What are those? Olivia asked. Ancient sites, Miller answered, his eyes wide with sudden understanding. Stonehenge, the pyramids, the underwater monuments of Yonaguni. They're all part of Earth's defense network. They're activating because the system detected something else approaching, Collins said grimly. The Draconians were just the advance scouts. Something bigger is coming. Miller stared at the map, his hands trembling slightly. The Great Return, he whispered. That's what the Draconians were talking about in their transmissions. The Harvesters are coming back. How long do we have? Alex asked. Collins looked at the data flowing across the screens. Based on these activation patterns, less than 30 days. Then we need to move quickly, Alex said, standing up. If we're going into this containment dimension, we need to prepare now. As they left the room to begin preparations, Alex glanced back at the holographic display of ancient Earth. 10,000 years of hidden history, a planet-sized defense system, and an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. Everything he thought, he knew about humanity had changed in a single day. And somehow he had the feeling that the real revelations were yet to come. 3 days later, Alex stood in a large circular chamber deep within the Antarctica base. The walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to shift and change when he wasn't looking directly at them. In the center of the room was a platform surrounded by curved pillars of the same glowing blue material that made up much of the facility. This is the transfer chamber, Professor Miller explained. He looked different now, more confident, his eyes clearer as if he were remembering who he truly was. Our ancestors built these gateways throughout the solar system. This one will take us to the containment dimension. Olivia and Dr. Russell were checking their equipment one last time. They had been selected along with 2 security officers, Grace Kelly and Paul Martinez, to accompany Alex and Miller into the containment dimension. How exactly does this work? Alex asked, eyeing the platform warily. It creates a controlled fold in spacetime, Miller said. Think of reality as a piece of paper. Normally, to get from one point to another, you have to travel across the surface. This technology folds the paper so 2 distant points touch. And you're sure you know how to operate it? Russell asked. Miller nodded. More every hour. The genetic memories are becoming clearer. It's strange, like remembering things I never actually experienced. Director Collins entered the chamber carrying 6 small devices that looked like wristbands. These are communication and emergency recall units, she explained, handing one to each team member. They'll maintain your connection to our dimension and allow us to pull you back if necessary. What exactly are we looking for in there? Grace asked as she strapped the device to her wrist. 3 things, Collins replied. First, confirm that the Draconians are safely contained. Second, examine their ships for any technology that might help us understand their connection to the Harvesters. And third, if possible, attempt to free Admiral Krell from the Harvester. Influence. Professor Miller believes he may have the knowledge we need. Miller stepped onto the platform and began pressing symbols on a control panel. The pillars started to hum and the air between them shimmered like heat rising from hot pavement. Ready? He asked, looking at the team. Alex took a deep breath and nodded. One by one, they stepped onto the platform beside Miller. The humming grew louder, and the air around them began to twist and bend. Alex felt a strange pulling sensation, as if his body was being gently stretched in all directions at once. There was a flash of blue light, and suddenly, They were somewhere else. The containment dimension looked nothing like Alex had expected. Instead of a prison or a void, they stood in what appeared to be a perfect replica of Earth's solar system, but in miniature. Above them, tiny planets orbited a small sun, while below their feet was a transparent surface through which they could see stars. Amazing, Russell whispered, looking around. It's like a scaled model of our solar system. Miller nodded. The containment dimension mirrors our reality. It helps stabilize the transfer and makes it easier to locate specific objects. He pointed to a cluster of lights near the tiny Earth. Those are the Draconian ships. They moved toward the lights, which grew larger as they approached. Soon they could see all 87 Draconian vessels suspended in space, perfectly preserved. They're just frozen, Olivia said, studying the nearest ship. Time moves differently here, Miller explained. For them, only seconds have passed since they were transported. They boarded the largest ship, Admiral Krell's command vessel. Inside, they found the Draconian crew motionless at their stations, their reptilian features frozen in expressions of confusion or alarm. Russell scanned them with a device Collins had provided. They're in a state of suspended animation. Vital. Signs are stable but extremely slowed. Where's Admiral Krell? Alex asked. Miller led them to the ship's bridge, where they found the Admiral standing before his command chair. Unlike his crew, his eyes moved slightly, tracking their approach. He's more aware than the others, Miller said. The higher a Draconian's rank, the stronger their connection to the Harvester influence. It makes him more resistant to the stasis effect. Alex approached the Admiral cautiously. Can he hear us? I believe so, Miller replied. He touched a control on his wristband, and a field of energy surrounded Krell. The Admiral's body relaxed slightly, and he took a breath. What have you done? Krell asked, his voice slow and strained. Where am I? You're in a containment dimension, Alex explained. We transported your fleet here to protect Earth. Krell's vertical pupils narrowed. Impossible. Your species lacks such technology. We had it all along, Miller said, stepping forward. We just didn't remember until now. Russell moved closer with his scanner. I'm detecting an unusual energy signature at the base of his skull. He showed Miller the readings. Could that be the Harvester influence you mentioned? Miller studied the scan and nodded. A control implant. All Draconians probably have them, but his is more sophisticated. Olivia addressed the Admiral. You told us humans were an aberration. Why did you say that? Krell seemed to struggle with the question. Your pattern is wrong. You should not be here. The Great Return requires all anomalies to be corrected. The Great Return, Alex repeated. What exactly is that? Krell's eyes widened slightly. The unifiers come to bring harmony, to elevate worthy species. Unifiers? Russell asked. Is that what the Harvesters call themselves now? Krell didn't answer. Instead, he began to shake and a thin line of blood appeared from his nostril. The implant is fighting his conscious mind, Miller said urgently. We need to remove it before it causes permanent damage. Can you do that? Alex asked. Miller hesitated, then nodded. I think so. The memories include medical knowledge about Draconian physiology. He turned to Russell. I'll need your help. They carefully laid Krell on the floor of the bridge. Miller took a small tool from his kit and made adjustments to it based on Russell's scanner readings. The implant is crystalline, Miller explained. It's embedded at the base of his brainstem, where it can influence his thoughts and perceptions. We need to disrupt its energy pattern without damaging the surrounding tissue. As Miller worked, Olivia explored the ship's computer systems. Alex, she called from a nearby console. You should see this. Alex joined her and looked at the screen. It showed a star map with several systems highlighted. These are worlds the Draconians have corrected in the past year, Olivia explained. Look at the pattern. The highlighted systems formed a clear path leading directly to Earth. They were being guided here, Alex realized. The Harvesters, or Unifiers as they call themselves now, have been using the Draconians to map a route. From the floor, Miller called out, "I've isolated the implant. Dr. Russell, I need you to monitor his vital signs while I extract it." Alex and Olivia watched as Miller carefully used his tool to draw out a small, glowing crystal from the base of Krell's skull. The moment it left his body, Krell gasped, and his eyes flew open, suddenly clear and alert. "What have you done?" the Admiral asked, his voice stronger now. "I can think clearly for the first time in years." Miller held up the crystal. "This was controlling you. You and your people have been used as scouts for the Harvesters." Krell struggled to sit up. "Harvesters? Yes, I remember now. The Collective. They came to our world as allies, offering technology and knowledge, but then," he paused, his expression haunted, "they began to change us. Little by little. Those who resisted disappeared." "The Collective," Alex repeated. "Is that what the Harvesters call themselves now?" Krell nodded. "They present themselves as benevolent unifiers while secretly consuming civilizations from within. They've taken over half the known galaxy already." He looked at them with new understanding. "And Earth is their primary target, the one world that escaped them long ago." "How much time do we have before they arrive?" Alex asked. "Less than 30 of your days," Krell replied grimly. "And when they come, they will bring a fleet that makes mine look insignificant." Olivia's communication device beeped with an incoming message from Director Collins. "Return immediately. Ancient structures, worldwide, are fully activating. Earth is waking up." When Alex and his team returned to the Antarctica base, they found it transformed. The walls pulsed with bright blue energy, and new rooms had appeared where solid rock had been before. Staff members rushed through corridors carrying equipment that hadn't existed days ago. "What's happening?" Alex asked Director Collins as they stepped off the transfer platform. "Earth is remembering what it truly is," she replied, leading them to a large new chamber that had opened up beneath the ice. Ancient systems are coming online all over the planet. The new chamber was vast, with a huge holographic display of Earth floating in its center. Across the planet's surface, hundreds of points of light glowed. "Each light represents an ancient structure that has activated," Collins explained. "Stonehenge, the pyramids, the Nazca Lines, Easter Island. They were never just monuments or religious sites. They're components of Earth's defense network." Admiral Krell, who had come back with them, stared at the display in amazement. "Your ancestors built all this and then just forgot about it?" "Not forgot," Miller corrected. "Sacrificed. They gave up their technology and most of their history to hide from the Harvesters." He approached the hologram and touched one of the glowing points. It expanded to show the Great Pyramid of Giza, now emitting a faint blue light visible even in satellite images. "We're receiving reports from around the world," a technician called out. "The public is noticing. Social media is flooded with images and videos. We can't contain this anymore." Collins nodded grimly. "We never expected to. The awakening was always going to be public." She turned to face the team. "It's time to tell humanity the truth. We've prepared for this day for generations." "And the Draconian fleet?" Olivia asked. "What about them?" "Admiral Krell has agreed to help us," Collins said. "We're going to free his crew from the Harvester implants and bring them back to our dimension. We'll need their ships and their knowledge of the Collective's tactics." Krell stepped forward. "My people were used. Our minds were not our own. I will do whatever I can to stop those who enslaved us." His reptilian face was solemn. "Your world saved us when you could have destroyed us. We will not forget that." Suddenly the ground shook beneath them. The holographic display flickered, then stabilized, showing a new image, a cross-section of Earth revealing something massive at its core. "What is that?" Alex asked, pointing at a structure that seemed to be growing within the planet. Miller's eyes widened. "The Heart of Terra," he whispered. "I didn't think it was real. It was just a legend in my awakening memories." "What is the Heart of Terra?" Russell asked. "A weapon," Miller replied. "Or more accurately, a planetary defense system unlike anything ever built. The legends say it can redirect the energy of an entire star if necessary. Collins looked both awed and concerned. If that's activating, then Earth's defense system believes the threat is even greater than we thought. A communication officer approached them. Director, we're receiving worldwide requests from government leaders for information, and our deep space sensors have detected something at the edge of the solar system. The collective, Krell said, his voice tight. They're coming. Collins nodded. It's time. Professor Miller, are you ready to address the world? Miller looked startled. Me? Why me? Because you carry the genetic memory of our ancestors, Collins explained. You are the living link between what we were and what we are now. People need to hear the truth from someone who truly understands it. Miller swallowed hard and nodded. I'll do it. Within an hour, Miller was seated before a camera in a small room. His image would be broadcast to every screen on Earth. Alex, Olivia, and Russell watched from behind the camera as Collins counted down. 3, 2, 1. Miller took a deep breath. People of Earth, he began, his voice steadier than Alex expected. My name is Professor Sam Miller. Until a week ago, I was an archaeology teacher with a quiet life and ordinary problems. Now I am the bearer of a truth that will change how you see everything. Our planet, our history, and our place in the universe. As Miller spoke, explaining humanity's true origins and the coming threat, Alex watched screens showing reactions from around the world. There was fear and disbelief, but also a strange recognition, as if deep down, humans had always suspected there was more to their story. The strange lights you've seen at ancient sites around the world are not cause for alarm, Miller continued. They are Earth remembering what it truly is, a fortress built by our ancestors to protect us from a threat that is now returning. We are not defenseless, we are not alone, and we are not what the enemy thinks we are. When the broadcast ended, Collins turned to Alex. We've done all we can to prepare humanity. Now we need to prepare our defenses. Your team will work with Admiral Krell to free his crew and prepare their ships to join our defense fleet. Do you think we can win? Alex asked quietly. That depends on how quickly we can awaken Earth's full defense capabilities, Collins replied, and how much of our ancestors' knowledge Professor Miller can access in time. Over the next 2 weeks, Alex and his team made multiple trips to the containment dimension. One by one, they freed the Draconian crews from their implants. Some ships were brought back to Earth's dimension, where they joined a growing defense force in orbit around the planet. On Earth, the awakening continued. Strange structures emerged from the ocean floors. Mountains shifted to reveal hidden installations. The ancient defense network came to life piece by piece. Miller's genetic memories grew stronger. He began to understand technologies that had been lost for 10,000 years. Under his guidance, Earth's scientists learned to operate systems they hadn't known existed days before. Admiral Krell proved to be a valuable ally. His knowledge of the collective's tactics helped Earth prepare its defenses. They will send peaceful emissaries first, he explained during a strategy meeting. They will offer friendship and technology. That is how they begin the consumption of a world, with gifts that hide their true purpose. Which is, Alex asked, to study your weaknesses, to find the best way to absorb your uniqueness into their collective. Krell's eyes narrowed. They fear Earth. They remember how your ancestors escaped them. They will be cautious this time, but no less determined. 25 days after the Draconian fleet vanished, Earth's deep space sensors detected a new fleet approaching. Massive crystalline ships that dwarfed even the largest Draconian vessels. They're broadcasting a message, a communication officer announced. Let's hear it, Collins ordered. A melodious voice filled the command center. People of Earth, we are the collective. We come in peace, seeking friendship and exchange of knowledge. We have been searching for you for a very long time, Krell hissed. And so it begins. The lies that precede the harvest. Collins looked at the approaching fleet on the display. Ready our defenses. It's time to show the collective that Earth remembers who we really are. The collective's massive ships hung in Earth's orbit like crystal sculptures catching the sun. Their beauty made them even more terrifying. 7 of them positioned themselves around the planet, while the largest, nearly the size of Earth's moon, remained at a distance. In the Antarctica Command Center, Alex watched as Director Collins, Professor Miller, and Admiral Krell prepared for the upcoming meeting with the collective's representatives. "They've requested to meet on neutral ground," Collins said. "They suggested their command ship." Krell shook his head. "Not their ship. That would be suicide. They want to get samples of human DNA to study your weaknesses." "What about the old space station?" Alex suggested. "It's been abandoned for years, but we could make it functional for a short meeting." Collins nodded. "A good compromise. We'll send a small team, Commander Howard, Professor Miller, and Admiral Krell." "Me?" Krell seemed surprised. "Your presence will unsettle them," Miller explained. "A Draconian free of their control, working with humans. It sends a message that we know what they truly are." As preparations were made for the meeting, Earth's transformation continued. The heart of Terra had now fully awakened, creating a network of energy that connected all the ancient sites. Ordinary people around the world reported strange experiences, memories of stars they had never seen, knowledge of technologies that shouldn't exist. "The genetic memories are awakening in everyone with the right markers," Miller explained. "Not as strongly as mine, but enough. Earth is helping its people remember." 6 hours later, Alex found himself on the old space station, waiting with Miller and Krell for the collective representatives to arrive. The station had been quickly refitted with life support systems, but it remained cold and bare. "They're docking," Alex said, watching the external cameras. The collective's shuttle was beautiful, its surface shifting with colors like an opal. 3 figures emerged from the shuttle. They looked almost human, with pale skin and silver hair, but their eyes were entirely black, and they moved with an unnatural grace. "Welcome," Alex said as they entered the meeting room. "I am Commander Alex Howard of Earth. This is Professor Sam Miller, also of Earth, and Admiral Krell of the Draconian fleet." The tallest of the 3 stepped forward. "I am Emissary Vale, of the collective. We are pleased to finally meet the people of Earth." Its voice was melodious but had a strange echo, as if multiple voices spoke at once. "We have searched for you for a very long time." "We know why you've searched for us," Miller said calmly. "We remember who we are now. We remember who you are too." Vile's expression didn't change, but something flickered in its black eyes. "I'm afraid I don't understand. We simply wish to establish friendly relations with your world." Krell stepped forward. "As you wish to establish friendly relations with my people? Before you implanted control devices in our brains?" "Admiral Krell," Vile said, still smiling, "there seems to be some confusion. We helped your species advance beyond their natural limitations. We offered guidance. You enslaved them," Miller said, "as you've enslaved countless species, as you tried to enslave humanity 10,000 years ago, before we escaped and hid ourselves on Earth." Vile's smile finally faded. "You remember more? Then you should. But it doesn't matter. Your world will join the collective. Your uniqueness will strengthen us." "We will not join you," Alex said firmly. "We ask that you leave our solar system immediately." Vile laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "With what power will you resist us? We have watched your world. Your technology is primitive. Those ancient systems you've awakened are impressive, but they cannot stand against our fleet." Miller smiled for the first time. "You're wrong. Earth was never just our home. It's our greatest weapon. And it's fully awake now." At that moment, the space station shook. Outside, the heart of Terra had activated. From every ancient site on Earth, beams of blue-white energy shot upward, converging at a point in space before the planet. The energy formed a sphere that grew larger by the second. "What is this?" Vile demanded, its composure finally breaking. "The remembrance," Miller said simply. Earth remembering its true power. On the command ship, Collins watched as the energy sphere expanded. "All defense systems are online," a technician reported. "The heart of Terra is channeling power through the network. Energy levels are beyond anything we've ever recorded. Begin." The operation, Collins ordered. In space, the Draconian ships that had been brought back from the containment dimension moved into position around the collective fleet. From Earth's surface, more energy beams joined the growing sphere. On the space station, Alex received the signal that everything was ready. "This meeting is over," he told Vael. "Return to your ships. You have 1 hour to leave our system." Vael's face contorted with rage. "You cannot command us. We are the collective. We have consumed 1,000 worlds." It raised a hand, and a wave of energy knocked Alex backward. Krell leaped forward, tackling one of the other emissaries. Miller stood still, his eyes closed, mentally connected to Earth's defense network through his genetic link. "Now!" Alex shouted into his communicator as he regained his footing. The energy sphere before Earth suddenly expanded, engulfing the entire collective fleet. The ships didn't vanish as the Draconian fleet had. Instead, their crystalline structures began to fracture, lines of blue light spreading through them like cracks. At the same time, the freed Draconian ships fired weapons unlike anything Alex had seen before, targeting specific points on the collective vessels. The emissaries on the space station screamed, clutching their heads. "What have you done?" Vael gasped, falling to its knees. "The Remembrance doesn't just attack your ships," Miller explained, opening his eyes. "It unravels the psychic network binding your collective consciousness together. For the first time in millennia, you're experiencing individuality again." On Earth, people watched in awe as the collective ships broke apart, dissolving into harmless light. The main command ship tried to retreat, but the combined fire of the Draconian fleet and Earth's defense system engulfed it, leaving nothing but scattered particles. In the Antarctica Command Center, Collins received reports from around the world. The ancient sites were powering down, their work complete. The Heart of Terra returned to its slumber at Earth's core, but remained active, ready if needed again. When Alex, Miller, and Krell returned to Earth, they found a changed world. Humanity had glimpsed its true history and potential. The genetic memories awakened by the Remembrance had given people knowledge that would have taken centuries to rediscover. "What happens now?" Alex asked Miller, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the Antarctica base, watching the Aurora Australis dance in the sky. "We rebuild," Miller replied. "Not just our technology, but our place in the galaxy. The collective controlled or destroyed most of the civilizations we once knew, but there must be others out there. Perhaps some that escaped as we did." Admiral Krell joined them. "My people are free for the first time in generations. We would join you in this rebuilding. Together we might accomplish what neither of us could alone." "The Guardians return," Miller said softly. "That's what my ancestral memories keep showing me. Earth was never meant to be just our hiding place. It was meant to be the fortress from which humanity would someday re-emerge to protect the galaxy." In the weeks that followed, Earth began its transformation. The ancient technology, once fully awakened, accelerated human development beyond imagination. The Draconian fleet, no longer under Harvester influence, formed an alliance with Earth, and, from the Antarctica base, now revealed as the ancient command center it had always been, the first joint human-Draconian mission prepared to launch. Their destination, the original human homeworld, abandoned 10,000 years ago. Commander Alex Howard stood on the bridge of his new ship, built with recovered ancient technology. Beside him were Olivia, Russell, and representatives from both Earth and the Draconian fleet. "All systems ready," Olivia reported. Alex looked at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there was humanity's true home, and perhaps other survivors of the collective's long harvest. "Let's go find them," he said, and gave the order to depart.